request everyone to kindly be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, requesting all our distinguished guests to kindly take their seats as soon as possible. We would also request for all mobile phones to be kept onto silent mode from now onwards, please. Ladies and gentlemen, to go ahead with the proceedings of the inaugural session, I have the privilege of inviting on stage our very special guest, His Excellency Istvan Zabu, Honorable Ambassador of Hungary. Let's put our hands together to welcome His Excellency onto the stage, requesting Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-INDIA, to kindly escort His Excellency up to the stage, please. Warm welcome, sir. We have the privilege of inviting Lieutenant General Rakesh Kapoor, Deputy Chief of Army Staff. Warm welcome, sir. Inviting Lieutenant General Vinod Ji Khandare, retired, former Principal Advisor, Ministry of Defence. Warm welcome. Inviting Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary, Government of India, Department of Biotechnology. Inviting Ms. Arti Bhatnagar, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor at the Department of Promotion of DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Heavy Industry, and Ministry of MSME. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Inviting Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, President ASI, Dr. Sanjay Bahl, DG CERT-In, and Mr. Anil Prakash, Director General SIA-INDIA. Namaskar and good morning, esteemed dignitaries on the dais, senior government officials and regulatory leaders, distinguished representatives from the international space agencies and diplomats, participating industry executives and innovators, startup incubators and venture capital firms, academia and research institutions, defense and strategic experts, respected members of the press and media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pride and excitement that we welcome you to Day 3 of the 4th edition of India Space Congress 2025, which is a flagship platform to celebrate India's stellar journey in space innovation and global collaboration, organized by SETCOM Industry Association of India. The theme this year, Pioneering Innovation in Space Tech, India's Journey Towards Global Partnerships, reflects a shift from domestic capability and perfectly captures the spirit of a nation no longer just participating in space, but leading and shaping its future. This prestigious Congress, initiated by SIA-INDIA, has since its inception in 2022 evolved from a national dialogue into an international movement. Today, it stands as a powerful confluence of minds from across the globe, bringing together space agency leaders, industry captains, government officials, startups, investors, and academia, all with one shared vision, advancing the future of space through global partnerships. From SATCOM and cybersecurity to quantum tech and biomanufacturing in space and space-based defense, ISC 2025 is where cutting-edge science meets strategic cooperation. From government to government discussions to business deals, and from startup pitches to student and innovations, the Congress is built not just for dialogue, but for delivery. And the momentum is undeniable, with over 10,000 crore rupees allocated in the union budget for deep tech, rupees 500 crore technology adoption fund, and a surge of venture capital flowing into the sector. India's space economy is no longer emerging, it is in fact accelerating. But behind these numbers are the people, dreamers and doers, like all of you here today, shaping the narrative of space from ISRO labs to student classrooms, from global boardrooms to regional innovation hubs. And ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to highlight that this year's edition includes over 40 countries represented, special country partners like Western Australia, Norway, Italy, and Hungary, and a record response to our call for papers, encouraging young scientists and scholars to bring fresh ideas to the table. ISC 2025 is not just a conference, it's a launch pad for partnerships, policy reforms, capacity building, MOUs, and innovations that will define India's space journey ahead. And today we are honored to have the august presence of thought leaders and visionaries who are shaping the space frontier. I would now request Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-INDIA, to kindly honor and felicitate our dignitaries on the stage. We request you, sir, to welcome and honor His Excellency Istvan Subzo, Honorable Ambassador of Hungary. A very, very warm welcome to you, Your Excellency, to this very prestigious event. Dr. Subba Rao, to kindly do the honors, sir. Warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome and honor Lieutenant General Rakesh Kapoor, Deputy Chief of Army Staff. We are honored to have your august presence here with us today, sir. Very, very warm welcome to you. We welcome and honor Lieutenant General Vinod J. Khandare, retired, former Principal Advisor, Ministry of Defence. Warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome and honor Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary, Government of India, Department of Biotechnology. We welcome and honor Ms. Arti Bhatnagar, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor at the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Heavy Industries, and Ministry of MSME. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. We welcome and honor Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, President ASI. And we welcome Dr. Sanjay Bahl, DG CERT-In. Thank you, Dr. Subba Rao, for doing the honors. And ladies and gentlemen, as is traditional in India, we begin every auspicious occasion by invoking the gods and goddesses, seeking their blessings by lighting the ceremonial lamp. I would now request all our distinguished dignitaries on the stage to kindly proceed towards lamp lighting and begin the inaugural session by inaugurating and lighting the ceremonial lamp. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the ceremonial inauguration of Day 3 of India Space Congress 2025. And it is now my pleasure to invite the President of SIA-INDIA, a pioneering force in India's space industry and a tireless advocate of public-private partnerships, Dr. Subba Pavuluri, to kindly deliver the welcome address. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Subba Pavuluri, sir, for the welcome address.
Namaskar. Distinguished personalities on the dais, distinguished participants, Namaskar to all of you. Now, we are into third day of our seminar, how to create the kind of global enterprises collaboration. That is the main theme of the seminar, in which we have been successfully doing it all along. And last 2 days, we had a very great discussions, a panel discussion that we had it on various topics. And one of the important topics for Viksit Bharat is going to be the space contribution to the economy. That's called space economy. So in this, in fact, we had a very good discussion, panel discussion yesterday we had it. Why I'm mentioning only that panel discussion is, in fact, we had many good panel discussions, but for India to become the Viksit Bharat by 2047, what should be the ingredient that should get into that have been amply discussed. And today and tomorrow also, today, in fact, we are going to have a lot of discussions on various other topics too. And I'm sure all of you will enjoy this. Thank you. Thanks. Welcome you all again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those warm words of welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite a highly respected figure in India's cyber and digital security landscape, Dr. Sanjay Bahl, Director General of CERT-In, to deliver the keynote address. With decades of experience in cybersecurity and policy implementation, Dr. Bahl plays a crucial role in safeguarding India's digital infrastructure, including our critical space assets. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Sanjay Bahl for the keynote address.
Good morning, distinguished dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the SATCOM Industry Association for inviting me here today to share my thoughts. I'm going to be speaking on cybersecurity and imperative for space superiority. Man is an explorer and has always been fascinated by space. Since the start of the modern space age in 1957, 4 satellites were launched into space during 1958, and there was a sort of linear growth till the year 2019, when there were about 2,744 satellites in space. This was the inflection point with technology advancements and an exponential growth in satellite launches into space, with 14,900 now in 2025. It is expected that tens of thousands will blast off in just the next few years. Dr. Kapoor, in his book Hyperspace, has defined 3 types of civilization advancements based upon energy types, and mentions that in the progression plan to type 2 civilization, humanity would harness sustainable energy output of a star. While the moon has huge potential to act as a launch pad for space exploration and is rich in minerals, it is the stars and asteroids containing vast reserves of minerals which are poised to become targets for resource extraction. Hence, space offers vast opportunities to harness resources and expand humanity's presence beyond Earth. We have now entered the second space race for supremacy, where cyberspace and cybersecurity in particular will play a crucial role in determining who dominates cyberspace is now considered the fifth domain after the traditionally recognized domains of land, sea, air, and outer space. It should be understood that cyberspace, unlike the other four domains, is man-made or invented and hence prone to vulnerabilities. Space-related organizations, industries, and supply chains have been vulnerable to cyber attacks, particularly the ground stations, since the mid-2010s. There has been a noticeable increase in cyber attacks targeting space operations, including signal jamming, destructive attacks, and supply chain compromises as the competition heats up. Cyber attacks related to espionage activities for gathering information on moon operations and the technology of other countries, as well as asteroid mining corporations' plans, would be targets for theft of intellectual property as well as destructive cyber or physical attacks. According to the Center for International Governance Innovation Policy Brief 173, it is believed that the Gulf War of 1991 was the first space war due to the extensive use of satellites by the USA. Hamas hacked the satellite broadcast of a major Israeli television channel in 2014, which was followed by a cyber criminal gang allegedly hijacking satellite IP addresses in 2015 to steal data. Then in 2018, the GPS signals were disrupted during the NATO exercise in Finland, Sweden, and Norway, affecting the ability of commercial aircrafts to navigate. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict is probably the first space cyber war. On the day of the Russian entry into Ukraine, Viasat suffered an outage which disrupted the internet services being provided by it to the Ukrainian armed forces, intelligence service, and police. Further, the Russian space agency, Roscosmos, said that Russia would treat any hacking of its satellites as justification for war, thus highlighting the explosive potential of the space cyber nexus, that launching a cyber attack on space assets would trigger a response in the form of conventional or kinetic warfare. From the current or earlier this month Middle East escalations, it has been observed that electronic interference and GPS spoofing activities intensified in parallel with the Israel-Iran conflict. The regional GPS spoofing incidents affected not only the GPS-dependent technologies, but also maritime and aviation navigation across multiple countries, Israel, Iran, Lebanon, and GCC. An average of 972 ships per day experienced GPS jamming between June 15 to 18, and more than 150 GPS interference warnings were documented on public aviation tracking websites between June 14 to 21 for aircrafts operating in the Gulf. While space-related developments and cyber attacks are expected to influence and impact every industry, satellite communications are at increased risk. Satellite communications play a crucial role in global connectivity, supporting various sectors such as banking, emergency services, etc. As the domain of space becomes increasingly crowded, the cyber risks linked to satellite communication infrastructure have surged. Each new satellite added to this intricate network is both an engineering marvel and a potential target for cyber threats. With satellites now integrated into essential daily operations, from navigation to transaction synchronization, any disruption can lead to widespread repercussions. Let us take another example. About a decade back, two distinct cyber jihadist groups experimented with and carried out a volumetric distributed denial of service attack and achieved some success. These actors expressed interest in engaging in similar and potentially more offensive cyber activities in the future. Their desired targeting strategy was military and economic targets as well as satellites. They also published a survey to solicit feedback from their members with regard to geopolitical priorities. The results of the attacks were that the targeted sites were offline for nearly 2 months before resuming to a new IP address hosted by a distributed denial of service protection service. It is clear from this that executing a cyber attack requires much less in terms of funds and technological and engineering capabilities. Some of the other cybersecurity threats in satellite communication that need attention are command and control interference between the ground-based stations and the communication link, which could redirect satellite functions, disabling critical services, or even taking control of the satellite for malicious purposes. Unencrypted communication, that is compromise of integrity and confidentiality of data transmitted between Earth and satellites, resulting in the alteration or interception of sensitive information, leading to incorrect data being relayed and potentially security breaches. Onboard software vulnerabilities, which can be exploited to disrupt satellite operations, inject malicious code, or gain unauthorized access to satellite systems. Signal jamming and spoofing, sensor tampering, ground station as a service having similar issues to that of cloud services, supply chain attacks, automated attacks to bypass conventional security measures using artificial intelligence, and vulnerabilities of IoT devices connected to satellite systems can be exploited to gain access to broader networks, to steal data, launch distributed denial of service attacks, or disrupt satellite services. To address these challenges, there is a need to follow a six-pronged approach. One, a secure design and architecture approach, wherein cybersecurity is an integral part and not an afterthought, by following a matrix for imagining cyber attacks to anticipate risks unique to space. Second, ensure communication security, including quantum secure communication. Third, adopt software security practices. Fourth, evaluate supply chain security. Fifth, establish operational security measures, including setting up space situational awareness centers for mitigating hybrid threats and using space attacks and countermeasures engineering shield, as well as mapping of cyber risks to space assets using the space attack research and tactic analysis metrics to provide a structured approach for understanding and mitigating cyber threats in the space domain, as this matrix also aligns with the widely recognized MITRE attack framework commonly used by cybersecurity professionals. And six, embark upon a capacity building program, including certifications, which would be recognized and accepted globally. It is clear that amongst the three pillars of cybersecurity, people, process, and technology, strengthening of human resources is the key aspect which can help to secure cyberspace in the long run. The issue with respect to training people in cybersecurity is that typically only classroom and certification does not prepare individuals for a hands-on operational role. It provides them with a good level of supporting knowledge and some of the skills, but not necessarily ready for hands-on roles. Also, it should be noted that these trainings are as individuals and not as teams. You cannot secure cyberspace individually because you need to collaborate and defend as a team, so why should training be imparted individually? So how do you take individual performers to team players collaborating and adapting against the latest cyber threats? This is where the need for modeling and simulation operational scenarios and exercises arises to proactively identify, close, and defend against cybersecurity gaps so as to ensure operational readiness and effectiveness. Cyber range and cyber drills have the ability to address the needs of individual performers to team players, along with helping in moving forward on the cyber maturity curve. In conclusion, there's an urgent need to chart out the rules of the game in space by identifying principles for responsible cyber space behavior and for developing pragmatic national policies to defend against threats to space-related assets and applications. Domination of cyberspace would lead to domination of outer space, which in turn would decide the country dominating and leading humanity towards the Type 2 civilization as defined by Dr. Kapoor. Thank you for your patience and attention.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, I now have the privilege of inviting Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, President, Aeronautical Society of India, and a renowned aerospace engineer, defense scientist. Dr. Reddy's leadership has been pivotal in advancing India's technological autonomy in defense and space applications. So let's welcome Dr. Reddy for his address.
Namaskar. Good morning. The dignitaries on the dais, and particularly Dr. Subba, the president of SIA-INDIA, who has been backbone of this Indian Space Congress, which regularly happening with a lot of participation from across the globe, and all other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. A very good morning to all of you. I try to say few things about the space with respect to defense. I don't have to mention that the space has become the fourth dimension of warfare. That's not today. Look at even almost about a decade or 1.5 decades before itself, a lot of activity in the space with respect to any conflicts between two nations. And in fact, the first activity any nation which is planning for a war or thinking of a war, the first activity planned is the space assets. What type of a space assets and what are the need of it, and all those things thought about, and you launch them first and try to look at it. This is how it has been going on, and everyday changes are happening. The requirements, the technologies which are required from the space, primarily for the surveillance point of view, have been going up in a big way. And of course, the second one or the primary one has been the communications. Both geo-based and LEO-based communications also have been playing important role and will be very, very important with new technologies like space-based quantum communications and all that are evolving today. If you look at the space segment, whether it is GEO or LEO, or even the orbit where we have the space-based navigation segment which is present in the orbit, all have been very important, even though India has chosen the GEO as for the space-based navigation, which is very, very important. And primarily in a conflict situation like what we had, even though there are many technologies which are coming up to jam, to spoof and all that, having a complete constellation, providing a long code is very essential for our nation with our own space segment. This is an important thing what we need to actually complete with a long code, the space segment. The third one in the space segment is what emerging today is VLEO. I strongly feel it's going to have a great impact, and I in fact feel that whatever we have in LEO, many of the things or most of the things or all of them will be coming to VLEO in the coming future. A lot of advantages what you have with respect to the sensitivities, the capabilities what you are having at the LEO. When you come to VLEO, then those parameters, the sensitivities, the resolutions and all that will be much, much, much better than what we have today. And looking at today, the various capabilities in the launch segment are the propulsions for the satellites, whether today electric propulsion, green propulsion, or the plasma-based propulsion, which are emerging today, and particularly the last one for the VLEO are very, very important, which here and there, I say a couple of people are only working and trying to come out. But then I strongly feel it is got a great future, and it has got a great business also in the coming years. Then coming from there, look at the space-based capabilities wise, surveillance capabilities wise. Every day the requirements are changing. Every day the capabilities of this space-based segment or the payloads capabilities are changing. When we thought about in 2013 or 14 of an LNT capability, we were talking about the sensitivity of about somewhere around -90 or something like that in dBms and all that. Then when you came to 2020, the same thing has gone to -110. Now we talk about -120. And then with VLO coming, what is the type of sensitivity, we do not know. Same thing you see, the image resolutions. We have been talking about earlier about 50, 60 centimeters, has come to 30, 25, and we also heard during the recent conflict what we had, talking about better than 10 centimeters resolution is something what people are talking about. Similarly, look at the hyperspectral capability. When I think ISRO has done the Chandrayaan mission, we had about 12 meters resolution. Now we are already talking about better than 5 meters resolution is what, with of course a lot of other capabilities in the ground based imaging and other things and all that, what is a capability. So the capabilities are every day changing. That's why I use the word every day changing, and a lot of technologies. And then you have the other things coming up in the SAR payloads, various segments, not just C-band or X-band, and then going to today P-band, and other things are also playing very important as far as this segment is concerned. I don't know whether the stratosphere is called as a space segment or we call it as aero segment, but then that's also one more important thing, is a area which is going to emerge in a big way in the stratosphere area. A lot of research happening in the world gives a very high capability. If you have a vehicle which can stay there for about 6 months and with a lot of payloads, the type of accuracies, resolutions what you get, the longevity what you have, what you see today, that will be completely different. This is another area what it is going to be is. So as I said, the satellite as such, the propulsion of that and capabilities of each satellite and the orbits and the payload capabilities are the one which are emerging and changing every day, which we need to look ahead and try to come out with the technologies which will be for after 5 years from now, what is the requirement, what is the world is going to be, and that what we need to look at and work, and he will be a successful man. Similarly, on the, I say on the space offensive side, again a lot of nations are working on many capabilities, whether it is ground based or air based or the space based capabilities. Even though India has demonstrated a capability in the year 2019, March 27th, but India has taken a decision that it is only for technology demonstration. We will not use the space for as a war zone. But we have to be careful that many nations, many countries are working on these technologies in a big way. I feel technologically the country should be prepared. Technologically country should be prepared. Yes, if there is a decision taken, we are not starting our research that day. We should be prepared now technologically, and if there is a need, we should be able to quickly build a system around it and then possess the capability that day. As we see, multiple threats, whether it is you talk about, many people talk about docking in orbit and whatnot and all that, and from there high power lasers, space based lasers, people talking space based electromagnetics, or airborne lasers, airborne electromagnetics, or ground based lasers, ground based electromagnetics. These are all the technologies which many people talking or working or whatnot and all that. So, we should be prepared both in the terms of defense or protecting ourselves from these type of threats, and then looking at the capability, technological capability to have these also. This is an important aspect what again all of you who are here should look at it and try to have those technological capabilities, which as I again said, these are some of those things what I talked which are talked today. And what it is after 5 years, we should contemplate and we should think and try to see, have a one technological jump and try to be that the nation is on par or no less than any other advanced nations in the capability. See, one thing is very clear, I am again talking about defense. One who will have an upper hand is one who is technological advanced and one who has a surprise element. This is very clear. The Operation Sindoor has very clearly shown that the technological advantage what you had, you made the dominate the whole war. And so, we need to, we can't be complacent about having technological updates and try to see that what new, what we have a clear technological edge over your adversary is the most important. So, space plays a very important role in that, including what we heard the statement from Chairman ISRO, the role played by the space segment during the Operation Sindoor. So, it is very, very important, and many people who are working in the civilian domain and also working in the defense domain, definitely what you work for the defense domain is definitely as a dual purpose is useful in the civilian domain also. So, it is very important to look at what is after 5 years or 10 years. So, I am sure that all of you will be looking into that direction, thinking the direction, lot of deliberations must be going on. I heard lot of young startups, new startups who are talking about many space-based technologies, space-based surveillance, space-based space surveillance and whatnot and all that have presented here and are part of it here. I am sure that you will be able to think ahead and make India a leader in this segment. My best wishes to you. Once again, congratulations to SIA-INDIA and all the best to you. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to hear from Lieutenant General Vinod J. Khandare, retired former Principal Advisor to the Ministry of Defence and today's special guest of honor. His distinguished service to national security and defence strategy has been instrumental in shaping India's integrated response across space and strategic domains. So let's put our hands together to welcome General Khandare.
Jai Hind to all of you and a very good morning. Firstly, my due respect to all the dignitaries on the stage, and what Dr. Satheesh Reddy very correctly said, Dr. Subba here deserves a lot of special mention. Then Mr. Anil Prakash, from SIA you have been doing a great national service, getting experts here twice in a year, one in Space Congress and then second in the Defense Conclave. I think this is one good way of getting good minds here, patriotic people who are inclined to do something good for the nation. Many people are here because they charter demands. Many people are here who want to possibly look for commercial interests. But I think there are two people here, General Pannu and me, who are here out of sheer passion. So we have been proudly associated with all activities to take the nation ahead and to work in this particular field. Dr. Reddy mentioned about 2019. He is the man who actually did something to create deterrence, because as we keep growing and as Honorable Prime Minister says, Viksit Bharat, but simultaneously there has to be deterrence, so that has to keep Surakshit Bharat. So unless you keep both these things going, you will always face a challenge from various great powers, peer powers, and you will always be either pulled sideways, backwards, and you have to maintain your trajectory and you have to maintain the momentum. These are the two things that we have to ensure. Now, it was mentioned by Dr. Bahl that this is a new domain, and in this new domain, it has to be clearly understood that it is a contested domain. It's not a domain which is freely available to anybody. It's a contested domain, and there are actually some rules, some conventions, but rules and conventions are meant for weaker people. Stronger people will always bypass. So unless you have strength, there is no deterrence. And if you don't have deterrence, you don't have growth. So these are things which are absolute realities of life. Now, there are many spacefaring nations who have looked at economic growth, technological growth, but simultaneously security also. And there are structures, organizations which have got created, especially for defense. I remember 2019, General Raymond from USA had visited, he had met me, and by 2020 or 2021, they had the Space Force ready, launched. They had, along with that, France also did same thing. Russia, China have similar organizations. We started on, I think, 31st October 2018 with DSA, Defense Space Agency, along with that Defense Cyber Agency also. But by the time they got operational, it was well past a year, 2019. Now we've spent enough time. I think what we need to do is to see, are we satisfied with what we have done so far? Do we need to do a mid-course correction? And mid-course correction, it's been quite a few years. I think it's overdue. I think 5 years had been given for an analysis. That is also over. We need to surge forward. We need to move forward. We need to work out as to whether this organization is good enough, whether we need to modify that, we need to aggregate that. The integration of the three services is also important. The positioning of the space specialists for national security is also important. Like an example that you can see, whether it is China or USA, USA specifically, in the Chiefs of Staff Committee, the 4-star general who heads the Space Force, he sits there. So he is the one who's integrated right from the beginning. There are many things which we will have to start thinking of, whether it is tri-services integration or whether it is at national level. The importance of space in every walk of life, whether it is in the civil sector, whether it's in the military sector, is extremely important. And as you keep getting more and more dependent on digital infrastructure, digital way of life and space, the opportunity to the adversary to disrupt that becomes that much more possible. A simple thing like we all drove to this place today, we possibly were using the GPS. GPS or equivalent, denial is another way of disrupting your life. Whether drones are used, again GPS is used. Whether missiles are used, again GPS is used. And space is one particular domain which is not characterized by the way other domains are done. Like on land, you have an international border or a line of control. In sea also you have territorial waters, exclusive economic zone. Air, you have airspace. But in space, it's free for everyone. Disruptions or empowerment can all happen in space. At the moment, we are all free to utilize it. And we have to be very careful about how quickly we empower ourselves, because nobody waits for you to catch up. And in the high club, rules and conventions are made to keep the weaker ones out. This is a reality. Again, please accept it at the earliest. The point about having technological power is part of the comprehensive national power. And one very simple thing here, every segment of comprehensive national power has to have comprehensive national security. If that security is not ensured, that power has no meaning at all. So while I have a session following after this, and we will be talking about national security and involvement of space in that. So there will be many more things which will come up. A very brief mention by Dr. Reddy about Op Sindoor. Maybe in my session we will discuss more about it. So I think the name of the hall is very good, Inspire. So I think a lot of people will want to know about it out of inquisitiveness or for inspiration. I would rather focus on inspiration rather than inquisitiveness. Inquisitiveness is left to media, and you've seen what media has done to itself in Op Sindoor. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, and we certainly look forward to your session that is coming up in the day. And ladies and gentlemen, we now invite Ms. Arti Bhatnagar, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor at the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, and also serving with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Heavy Industries and MSME. Ms. Bhatnagar brings a wealth of financial and industrial expertise that bridges innovation and enterprise across the sector. So let's welcome Ms. Arti Bhatnagar for the special address.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar. Dr. Subba Rao, President SIA, Dr. Sanjay Bahl, DG CERT-In, Lieutenant General Khandare, Lieutenant General Rakesh Kapoor, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary Biotechnology, Dr. Satheesh Reddy, President Aeronautical Society of India, His Excellency Subba, Honorable Ambassador of Hungary, and Mr. Anil Agarwal from the SIA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and privilege for me to be talking to you all today. I would be speaking on the subject, the theme of this year's, Congress, which is pioneering innovations in space technology. I head what is called the Startup Seed Fund, which we have started for startups, but we give the funding to incubators, and they in turn fund the startups. So for me, this is a subject which is very close to my heart. I'm very passionate about it. I've been working on this, and I'm very proud to be associated with it. We had an outlay of about 945 crores, and I'm happy to report that we have been able to utilize that entire money has been committed. So we've been able to give statistics I'll share with you, because my office has also given me a lot of statistics, that how many incubators we have been supporting. But, the point is that we finished this, now we are working, we are back on the drawing board, and we are looking for the version 2 of the scheme. So what we are going to come out is going to be a bigger and hopefully a better, and all the lessons that we learned, we are going to incorporate it. So I had a lot of stakeholder meetings, and we've been talking to a lot of people that what is it that the innovators want, so and how we should do it even better. Though one of my fundamental principles being a bureaucrat is that government should be at a slight arm's length. We were just having a conversation on this. And the reason being that, you see, what we need to do is provide a platform, an ecosystem, give the right nudge where it's required, but let the industry take it forward. Let these innovators take it forward. And that's the best way to do it, I feel. And that's where we've also been able to get extremely good results. As far as the, space technology in India is concerned, we started with a very modest, because ISRO is our, main alma mater, who the ministry which is taking it forward. And we had a very modest beginnings, but then we've gone on to you know, the ones which always come out in the news, in the media, which we are also very proud of as Indians, is the Mars Orbiter mission, the Chandrayaan-3 soft landing on the moon, then Aditya L1, the first solar observation mission, and the latest being when we've sent our astronaut in the Axiom mission 4. We've also done excellent work, which I'm sure you must have been hearing about in these days, you know. The 429 satellites have been launched by us for 30 plus nations, and we've generated $174 million, and this is what is our journey, and this is just the beginning. I feel we need to go further ahead, and it is part of our space diplomacy. Other than that, you see, we've also in the government, let me tell you, we have a number of flagship schemes which are also working. One which I'm again, you know, very, very proud of, that is part of one of my departments, which is the Department for Internal Trade and Industry, DPIIT. We have the PM Gati Shakti infrastructure planning, where again we're using a lot of space technology to develop our assets and make it known that, you know, what is available where for investment decisions and for so many other decisions. The second is our Digital India for connectivity, and also the PM Fasal Bima Yojana. So for my, you know, foreign friends, I'd like to tell you that, you know, for even insurance for the farmers, this is also being, you know, driven through a satellite-based crop monitoring. So that if he says that, yes, there's an insurance claim, then, you know, they're able to pick it up from the satellite imagery. And I think that is, again, amazing the way we have moved forward. We have also set about $44 billion of, you know, developing in the space industry, in the space sector. And this is through the ones which I was talking about, our you know, startup innovation funds. We have been funding also the IITs and the Indian Institute of Science and other such eminent educational institutions, you know, who have this incubation centers, whom we are funding. So, you know, I would be urging, because I have been meeting the incubators, you know, when we decide to give them the funding. So we look at their facilities, the kind of mentoring that they can do, how they are reaching out to even to the remotest kind of backward districts, or as I say, the aspirational districts in the hinterland, in the tier 3, tier 4 cities. So that's what we are going down to. So that even if there is a young entrepreneur waiting, you know, with a bright idea, how should he or she be able to get funded? So that is the whole scheme about, that if you have an idea, if there's something that you want to do, then we are there. We are there through the scheme, through an incubator, for you to come forward. You can apply on our portal, and then you can, you know, get the funding. So this is the kind of work that we have been doing. And let me share some success stories in the space sector. So we have this Space Fields Private Limited. This is a DPIIT recognized startup, and they have developed India's first aerospike rocket engine, which is successfully cold flow tested at the IISc Propulsion Complex. Then another one is the Spantric Private Limited. I'm sorry, you know, it is a bit of a tongue twister. So this is again one which we have, you know, funded, and they have developed India's Raven, the first fully reusable rocket. And they are designed to support missions to low Earth orbit and interplanetary destinations. Then there is Skyroot Aerospace, which is again, specializing in futuristic space launch vehicle design. And they are the first private firm to launch a rocket, Vikram S, November 2022. So this is the kind, and they've been able to raise a pre-series C round of $27.5 million. So that is something that we find, that these are the young innovators, and all from India, who are doing so very well. Yet another example is an Agnikul Cosmos. So they are capable, they are launching vehicles which are capable of taking micro and nano satellites into the low Earth orbit. So a lot of these, companies, these young startups are working in that low Earth orbit space. So I think that's very, very interesting, because there can be a lot of commercial ventures and all coming out. And I think they have also been able to raise $26.7 million in round B. So these were the few success stories which I thought I must share in the space sector. Apart from that, some of the other statistics which I would like to share about how India has really embarked on the field of innovation. As of April this year, we've become the 3rd largest startup unicorn nation in the world. We've got 118 unicorns with a total valuation of 350 plus billion US dollars. I think that is something that we all as Indians need to be really proud of. The unicorns, they have made an impact which is 13 times from 8 in 2015. And in 10 years period, we have come to 118. So I think that's the kind of success story and the growth that we have seen in the innovation field and by the startups. Another thing which is very interesting, at least I feel extremely, proud of the achievement that India has made, is that these startups alone have created 18 lakh jobs. And on average, every startup has about 11 employees. So employment generation is also one of our major objectives. So that is another thing which these startups have done. And there is one at least recognized startup in each state of India. So I think there again is, where we can see that the growth has really happened across pan-India. And apart from that, there is the 48% of the startups necessarily have a woman director. So that's again to the women power. And 52% of these startups are all in non-metro cities. So don't need to go only to these big cities. In the small cities also, we are hearing lovely growth stories, which we are all very, very happy, to note. Apart from that, Government of India has also 10,000 crores was given as fund of fund. This is for the second stage of production when they're gone into production. So, and these, the funds are given to the AIFs, and through them it is given to the startups. So, we've already committed 11,808 crores, and in the recent budget announcement, the finance minister has announced that we are going to get another round of capital infusion of 10,000 crores. So again, I think this is the kind of, the right, I feel, nudge which the government provides. And along with this, there is something else, because under DPIIT, we also have the trademarks CGPTDM office, where all your trademarks, patents, all these are registered. So there are a few statistics that I would like to share there also. In this 10-year period, I'm talking about 2014-15 to 24-25, this 10-year period, the annual patent filing has increased from 42,763 to 1,10,373. So over a 10-year period, it has doubled, more than doubled in fact. Patents granted from 5,900, say about 6,000, it has now gone up to 33,500. And the women and SCSTs, you know, the backward classes, from 15, it has gone up to 5,083. So our women are also part of this journey. Startups have increased 13 times in 9 years in the patents and all that I was just telling you. And therefore, in the innovative index, India is moved from 81 position to 39th position. So that is where I think we all need to applaud the kind of efforts that you young people have done, to bring us up on this innovation index. So, my only suggestion or advice, if you may ask, since we are sitting, on the drawing board, we are just I think we've got the first draft of our scheme, where we are going into, where we are giving more money to the deep tech or maybe the space technology sector in case there are innovators there are startups there. We plan to give them a higher amount. We plan also to go into, there's kind of a collaboration that we are looking at. Sometimes you see these innovations or these bright ideas the youngsters have, they may not be able to have the acumen, the business acumen to translate them into, successful commercial ventures. So what is it that can be done? So that is what we are trying, I think. This is an idea that I'm just working out, so I just thought I'll speak it out. But whether, how this collaboration, government can facilitate where the IPRs or the patents which have been already successfully awarded, how the companies can pick those up, pay the royalties, and then it can go into a successful venture in case that innovator is not able to do it himself or herself. So coming back to this, I would urge all the peoples that if you have an idea, if you've got a bright idea, if you're raring to do that, please come forward and take benefit of the government schemes and let us take it forward. And I think government would always be there to support you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, ma'am, for that motivating and inspiring address. And also, thank you for sharing all those wonderful initiatives taken by the Government of India. And next, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, a leading scientific voice driving cutting-edge research, innovation, and biotech applications that also intersect with space-enabled health and agriculture systems. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Dr. Gokhale.
Namaskar and good morning to all of you. I think we've had some really interesting discussions in last half an hour, 45 minutes from different people, actually all the dignitaries on the dais and the dais. I think biology is one of those rare subjects that are actually not very easily aligned with larger ecosystems, other than life by itself, but how the technology that is coming from biological processes is going to bridge the biology and space. That is what I'm going to talk to you about today. And you can imagine the concepts are very, very amazing dimensions. I mean, biology, while looks at molecules which are very, very small and very small level, and you talk about how galaxies will function in a perspective which is very completely different dimensions altogether. And so that's why I thought I should first put together to give you the space is a macrocosm actually. Whereas the biology is the microcosm. It works at a nanoscales to microscales. You almost cannot see anything in terms of molecular processes that happens in biological processes. The times can be seconds, So the days actually, of course, the evolutionary processes continues for decades. That's a different, but the most of the biology happens in seconds and in a very, very fast pace actually. For example, gene expressions or metabolic changes or happening every activities that happens. And the tools you use are very much microchip based dimensions like various genomics and cell culture technologies. The space, as all of you realize, is a planetary system, cosmic timescales, billions of years of activities, and the vastness and vacuum is the real problem, which is not really suitable for life processes. And you use rockets, satellites, telescopes, and variety of activities actually. However, it is very important that while they operate at two different dimensions in terms of spatio-temporal dynamics, their convergence is very critical for human life space programs of any activities that we think of, advancing our resources and activities in future to come at. I think the mismatch, even though it's a spatial and temporal, the biology has an exquisite sensitive to time and space environment actually. It's one of those that represent the most extreme test of life. For example, if you really look at vast distances and durations that require biological systems of self-sustaining and adaptive for regenerative processes, the biology is the most uniquely equipped for it actually. So for example, if you try and think of, if you want to regenerate and stay for a years in space, you will have to regenerate food, you will have to regenerate all the waste material that is being provided, is being generated. And the sustainability model actually can only be provided through the biological processes. Of course, the biotech also compresses the complexity actually. And if you look at the most, one of the biggest challenges in space stations is obviously the space, how to utilize the space. And if you really look at the microbial fuel cells or the algal-based oxygen generators or organs on chips, are kind of all miniaturized purposes in which they can thrive in low volume and high efficiency modules that are suitable for spacecrafts actually. And I think therefore you will see eventually the technologies will get driven from the biological processes to these systems that we are talking about, which are gigantic systems of times of different ways, and we're looking at it actually. So the paradox will be that the life from a small scale may sustain the vastness of space. And that's very interesting perspective to look at. And even though the smallest of scales, the sustain human life far from Earth. And how do we really do this is what we are looking at. The terraform alien environment of what we are talking about. Can we understand the language of life? Can we deploy the language of life in space actually such that the life processes can in fact be sustained for future growth, future processes and ideas is what everybody is looking at actually. And all these kind of thought processes, how to interpret and signatures of life in the universe will obviously come through these novel convergence of biology and the space technologies which are going to be very transformative. I think that's why one of the aspects that we started to think about now between Department of Biotechnology and ISRO actually is we think now that the space is the new laboratory for biotechnology actually. And as we speak today, in fact, our Sudhanshuji Shukla must be doing these experiments that he has taken on board with many of these are biological experiments driven by biotech system, and I will talk to you about it. So that it's a two-way innovation pipeline. While space accelerates biotech discovery, and I'll give you a couple of examples for you to understand how the space experiments will accelerate the systems here. At the same time, biotech makes scalable and sustainable technologies available for these systems to function there. And I think the two most exciting opportunities for biotech industry to think about in the potential research for space biomanufacturing is the microgravity and the cosmic radiation. Both of these environments you can't create on Earth very well actually. I mean, you can probably create them mimicking it, but you can never have this complete environment set up actually that you can replicate on the Earth. And that's where these are the two different dimensions that you can bring to your biotech research activities that will provide you ways of looking at it actually. So some of these, for example, I'm talking about examples for bioengineered organisms for space missions actually. How to resist the space irradiation systems, and there are organisms that survive at a very different ionizing radiations actually. So how do they survive? Can we replicate that in human lives? How do we produce biofuels such that you can sustain long-term flights on its own cyclable processes? Can we generate pharmaceuticals on demand? Because if you stay long periods of time, you may require, human body may require kind of sustained vitamin levels, sustained level of normal activities to be able to do actually. And how these different kind of painkillers and modified cyanobacteria can be utilized in the space systems. Of course, we have to provide food, and we have to provide various systems that are important for dairy and other activities, which can be cultured in an animal cells, providing activities. At the same time, the protein content needs to be taken care of, and microbial food provides the protein content of activities. The other aspect is of very important, which is of stress and immunity of human life to be able to sustain there actually. What is really amazing is that the muscle, because of there is no gravity there, the muscles actually lose their activity very, very rapidly. And almost 10 to 15% of muscle you lose within 10 to 15 days of your space flight, which is quite amazing to think of, because one of the key ways of aging is the loss of muscle mass actually. And this is called, so one of the concept of muscle aging can be studied very rapidly there, which you cannot mimic it here actually. For example, many diseases cause muscle mass loss actually, and these are called cachexia actually. And the old age muscle mass loss is called sarcopenia. So these are the two very important aspects that one is looking at from a health point of view for a earth kind of solutions that you can mimic in the space and be able to do this. Of course, the weakening of immune system because your cytokine profiles changes, and there are some really exciting experiments that have been done between the identical twins actually in the past by United States, where they've looked at identical twins, one is in space and one is over in India, and how their own systems actually get modified. So these are tremendous opportunities and exciting times to look at. The other aspect is of how microgravity provides ways of doing biomanufacturing. So for example, because there is no gravity there, the cells don't settle down and they don't fall at space actually by its own weight. It actually has to be sustained through a different kind of mechanism. And that's where the tissue engineering and crystal growth experiments are being tested out. And similarly, the stem cell cultures are being tested out to see how these will perform there in that kind of environment so that the biological systems and processes can indeed be sustainable. Towards this, Government of India has actually taken a lot of steps, and quite a few of them, DPIIT finance person talked about it actually. Honorable Prime Minister chaired this cabinet, and they approved a policy called biotechnology, called BioE3, which is biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment. And one of the key components of this policy document was the strategic roadmap that have been identified is in fact the 6th number, which is basically for futuristic marine and space research. And you can imagine the biology actually reaching in these areas of research activities will be quite amazing actually. So you can see the government is already focused on space and biology integration and how these two will together in fact define the new future of how space activities will be carried out. I'll give you, so this was basically one of the landmark MOUs that was signed in the new era of space and biotech with the Secretary and Honorable Minister actually there at that time. And this was expected to provide National Human Space Program activities, how Gaganyaan and other kind of programs will be looked into it, so that we develop our own human health space research activities and biotech systems. That will open up new activities, obviously a great opportunity for startups and other people to really come up with new thought process and ideas to look at it. So let me try and tell you the kind of experiments that are going to happen in the next 4 to 5 days on the space mission programs actually. And these are going to be executed by our own scientist, astronaut who is on the space station actually. And the first of its kind is really looking at edible algae. Now these edible algae are very interesting organisms because there are lots of algae that you can eat actually. Now these take carbon dioxide and light and produce oxygen from these actually. So they are kind of, you can imagine the kind of plant systems that are available on the earth. You can take them up on the space, and they're going to test out how 3 different species of algal species that have 3 different variety of properties are going to behave in that kind of an environment. and then bring it back to India and try and understand how this futuristic space mission will be carried out. The second one of this is to try and look at the muscle mass loss activities. So the stem cells, which are the regenerative capacity of human body, comes through the stem cells that are present in our body. Now these stem cells are going to be grown in the space, in the microgravity systems, and be able to study that how the stem cells actually are losing their capability to reproduce constantly. And it happens that the mitochondria as an organelle, which is an energy homeostasis organelle of your body, is basically thought to drive the energy homeostasis in the cells. And what he's going to test out is try out a couple of molecules to see whether mitochondrial functions can be restored there, such that for future space research programs, these can be used as a supplements. And the third of its kind is actually a cyanobacteria. Again, this bacteria grows on nitrates. And one of the component of the urine in humans is urea actually. And urea provides a good source of nitrates. So what they're going to test out is whether these nitrates and the urea from the urine can in fact be used as a growth supplement, such that these kind of be used to actually demonstrate that cyanobacterial species can survive and grow there. So these are some real exciting experiments that are going to happen over the next 3 to 4 days. And in fact, they may be happening in the space even now, right now actually. And I think it's a huge, huge challenge and opportunity for us to really try and understand and explore that the sky has not just a limit, but the space dreams are infinite and amazing actually. And of course, all of you must have discussed these programs, that space mission programs that are going to happen actually, and the space industry is going to take this. But this picture obviously highlights everything what we have seen in last 2-3 days actually. I think I'll stop here and thank you again for this opportunity. I think it's immensely gratifying to talk amongst you all.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that insightful address. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also privileged to hear from India's defense leadership. Lieutenant General Rakesh Kapoor, Deputy Chief of Army Staff, Information Systems and Coordination, is at the helm of integrating technology in defense strategy. So let's put our hands together in welcoming General Kapoor for his special address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and at the very outset, my grateful thanks to SIA for inviting me over to share some of my insights. And I've been particularly interested in listening to all that my fellow distinguished panelists have said, and the very, very interesting things have come out. And I see a lot of distinguished audience here. Some of us, we've been meeting at multiple forums. And I look forward to an engaging session, and I'll be very pleased to see what are going to be the outcomes of this discussion, and where do we as practitioners take it forward as far as our utilization of space is concerned. At the very outset, I would firstly, as a practitioner, like to contextualize this whole discussion that we are having. Firstly, I agree with Dr. Satheesh Reddy, absolutely. The lexicon and grammar of conflict is changing. And since the lexicon and grammar of conflict is changing, technology is a key deterrent. So that is a given. And now when we come closer to our own region and where we live and where we operate, it's not that we belong to the Indo-Pacific that I'm stating this, but and my statistics are not as exciting as Mrs. Bhatnagar's statistics, but I would still give some bit of statistics. When we look at the geographies, the Indo-Pacific houses 60% of the world's population, and therefore it accounts for about 50 to 60% of trade and economy, and it is also the most populous region in the world, and therefore by inference it has the largest or the most rapidly growing consumers of space and space applications. The second context that I would like to bring about is the authority of international institutions is denuding, particularly the Bretton Woods institutions, whether it was the IMF, the World Bank, the United Nations. And this has a very telling effect when we talk about space. I think the last credible treaty is of 1967, the Outer Space Treaty. If we want to leave this planet livable for our children, grandchildren, and future generations, the institutional mechanism of understanding, of cooperation in space would have to be factored. I understand the Million Dialogue where Thucydides said that the strong will do what they have to do and the weak will suffer as they must. But space is something, which has to be, we have to garner more support, more cooperation, more coordination as this is concerned. And the third context that I would like to bring in, and I agree there with, the good part about being one of the last speakers is you can quote what other people said. What Dr. Bahl said, this whole cyberspace construct is actually plays a profound and pivotal role in connecting the other global commons. So it has, a connecting effect. It has a, synchronization effect when we have to operate in the global commons. And the global commons give us cooperation, and there is a lot of contest also in the global commons for influence, for greater power, for dominance in the global commons. So with these three contexts, I want to talk a little about the Indian space program. The Indian space program has three significant attributes. It's not that I'm fixed with the figure of 3, but it just so happens. Firstly, it's cost effective. I was just seeing the cost of our mission to Mars, Mangalyaan. The total cost was $74 billion US. And I just happened to see what is the cost of producing the movie Gravity, which talked about space exploration. It was roughly $400 million. So this was a live mission which went in $74 million. The second thing is there is a great amount of reliability. And that is why we are experiencing the effects of our space program. And the third point is, which Mr. Bhatnagar also mentioned, there is a lot of global goodwill. And this global goodwill is because we've been launching satellites for other nations, multiple nations we've lost. I think the figure she already mentioned of roughly about 400 satellites we've launched for other nations. And if this is the global goodwill that we have, Mr. Subba, I have a small request for you, and I'm sure you'll take this forward. In January 26, the Indian Space Congress has to transition to the Global South Space Congress. And that is where SIA has to take this leadership. And there is a lot of goodwill that we have, and we can provide leadership there. And when we look at the Indian construct, I think there is a need. The ISRO has done a great job, firstly. ISRO has done a great job. We respect the job that ISRO has done. But I think there is a need for an organizational review. We need a complete organizational review. Space is a thing that there are multiple users. There is space diplomacy there today. There is space economy today, which is there. The space economy itself is $600 billion US. We still have a small section. We're just about 10% of the global space economy. So we require an organizational review where there is ISRO. Like General Khandare said, there are the security agencies which need space in multiple things. There has to be diplomacy because next year we're going to have the Global South Space Congress. So we need diplomacy there. We need industry. We need innovators. So we need this whole Indian Space Council requires a complete organizational review. And the more partners that we have in this the better it will be. Now coming from a very, very practitioners, and since I'm in uniform, and I'm sure you must be asking, well, so what do you do about space? Before I discuss what we do about space and how do we utilize space, I would like to say that there is a huge scope of military-civil fusion as far as space and space applications and space technology is concerned. All of us use space as normal citizens for navigation. The GPS is there. So does the military use. The only thing is we navigate in different areas, more difficult areas. There are no crossings and there is no lady guiding us, telling us turn right or turn left, but we require it for navigation. Though as military men, we always listen to women, but that's a different connotation. So navigation is an important component. Communications. With this kind of digital age communications that we had, so do the same communications is required also in the military sphere. In the civilian domains, we use space for disaster warnings, disaster management, going into areas where HADR operations have to be performed. Similarly, we use it also in the military domain when we have to go. But our requirements may be sometimes launch on demand when we get into difficult areas where space coverage may not be there. Our requirements are low latency. Therefore, the low Earth orbit is very important for us. Our requirement is also ensuring that our multiple systems work using these applications. So there is a requirement of greater bandwidths, greater greater interoperability between components. Also a very important thing that all militaries across the world use space for. Because every military which is, irrespective of the color of the uniform which they wear, irrespective of the nationality that they come from, is very concerned about collateral damage and does not want to have collateral damage. And therefore, precision targeting is something that we all really, is what we follow. And that is where space plays a significant role. And that is what you also saw in the recent conflagration that we had in the month of May. So precision targeting is, a very, very important component where space applications play. We also require persistent surveillance. All of us are into this game of persistent surveillance. Surveillance for security, surveillance for sometimes for defensive purposes, surveillance for checking out the intent of our competing nations. So space plays an important component of it. So there is a range of things that space applications have. In fact, if I was to leave with this one singular note, that the whole construct of multi-domain operations is actually based on space-based technologies. So there is a huge amount of applications for space, and in fact we are now as a nation, we are transitioning towards space as a service, and that is what is our requirement. And there are going to be multiple customers for space as a service, and I think there is a great opportunity for private enterprise, public enterprise to engage in this. With this, I'll stop here, and I'll wish great success to this seminar, and I'll be very, very enthused to see the post-seminar report so that we can take some applications ahead from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, it is now our honor to hear from His Excellency Ishwan Sabu, the Honorable Ambassador of Hungary to India. His address will reflect on the strengthening of bilateral cooperation in space research, education, and industrial collaborations. So let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome His Excellency.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, namaskar. First of all, thank you for the kind invitation and thank you for this opportunity to speak as the ambassador of Hungary to India on the India Space Congress this morning. In recent years, Hungary and India have emerged as strong partners in various sectors, including science and technology. This collaboration has been pivotal in addressing shared global challenges, driving innovation, and creating opportunities for both nations. Hungary, with its historical emphasis on education, research, and engineering, and India, with its burgeoning technology sector and scientific advancements, are leveraging their complementary strength to push forward innovative solutions. A notable area within this collaboration is space cooperation, which gained significant momentum, especially in the context of recent developments in satellite technology and space exploration. Space applications have become part of our life, for which we can thank for forward-thinking researchers and innovators. Curiosity has driven the first spacefarers and the inventors of space rockets. Now, the same curiosity has become innovation in the fields of technology and research. Although Hungary is a small country in Europe, it demonstrates its strong commitment to innovation in global education and establishing itself as a hub of academic excellence. Hungary is committed to shaping a better future through education, research, and innovation, sharing the core intention of promoting progressive development and sustainable progress by paying special attention to supporting excellence. The 21st century has seen new perspectives emerge, especially regarding space activities. Hungary has long-standing experience in space research and activities. The Hungarian professionals are internationally recognized, and since this field is very innovative, Hungarian researchers and companies have the ability to cooperate in various international projects. The role of space is becoming more and more valuable. The use of space applications and objects has become the cornerstone in many areas of our everyday life. Let's think about the global communications. Since the 1960s, space communication gradually gained ground. Now we live in a global world, and if something happens somewhere, all of the world will know about it within minutes, thanks to the interlinked satellite communication systems. The other good example can be navigation. The land, air, or maritime traffic is so dense that we would be unable to control it without the support of satellite navigation systems. Both Hungary and India see space technology as a key tool for sustainable development. Satellites can provide critical data for managing natural resources, tracking deforestation, predicting weather patterns, and monitoring agricultural practices. This is especially crucial for a country like India, where agriculture is a significant part of the economy, and for Hungary, which is focused on environment conservation efforts in Central Europe. Another significant milestone we witnessed 2 days ago is a historic endeavor where an Indian astronaut, a Hungarian astronaut, and their Polish colleague, along with the US commander, started their joint spaceflight mission. I'm sure that this collaboration will strengthen our country's scientific standing and open new pathways for partnerships and innovation in the space industry and inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers and promote deeper interest in science, technology, and engineering. Having said that, I am grateful for this opportunity where in the framework of this event, Hungary can demonstrate its achievements in this particular field to the Indian audience. I hope that it will inspire new ways and projects for our joint cooperation in the future. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, for that very insightful address we had from you. And ladies and gentlemen, we now move forward into the next chapter of this inaugural session. We now arrive at a landmark moment, one that reflects the spirit of collaboration and mutual growth and strategic foresight. It is now my privilege to welcome you all to the MOU exchange ceremony, a testament to how partnerships, both international and institutional, serve as catalysts for innovation and knowledge exchange in today's rapidly evolving technological landscape. These MOUs represent more than just agreements. On paper, they reflect a shared vision to advance technological excellence, digital security, and research capabilities, strengthening both across sectors and borders. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first MOU, that is between SIA-INDIA and Infoter Hungary, I would also like to invite on stage Mr. Zygmunt Perui. This MOU paves the way for enhanced space sector cooperation and geospatial intelligence exchange between India and Hungary. It marks a significant step in expanding the international engagement and commercial opportunities in Earth observation and spatial technologies. So let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for the MOU between SIA-INDIA and Infoter Hungary. The next MOU is between SIA-INDIA and CERT-In, the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. And I would like to invite on stage General PJS Pannu. A critical collaboration to bolster cybersecurity resilience within India's growing space and satellite ecosystem. This partnership will enable joint initiatives, real-time threat sharing, and enhanced incident response capabilities. So let's put our hands together for the MOU between SIA-INDIA and CERT-In. And I would now like to invite Mr. Manoj Chuk, CMD, BEL, for the MOU between SIA-INDIA and IIT Kharagpur, and also Professor Prabir Kumar Biswas and Dr. Dipyaman Banerjee. This collaboration brings together academia and industry to advance research in artificial intelligence for integrated cyber physical systems, ICPS, and it will nurture innovation, foster talent, and contribute to next generation space and satellite infrastructure solutions. So let's put our hands together for MOU between SIA-INDIA and IIT Kharagpur. Thank you, gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now proud to launch two important publications. The first is the DefSet report, which is Defense and Safe Technology Report, part of the annual Defense Space Conference outlines. This India's modernization agenda with a 25,000 rupees or crore defense space investment in the financial year 24-25, global participation of 20 plus nations and 500 plus delegates in the year 2025, and the key themes will be quantum communication, AI-enabled space warfare and maritime domain awareness, and space cybersecurity. And also we'll have outputs including strategic handbooks and MOUs and policy recommendations for defense space synergy. So let's put our hands together on the release of the DefSat report. The next report to be released is the In-Space report, Linked to the InSpace Wargame 3.0, it provides a wargaming scenario simulating multi-domain space security with global participation and strategic insights on satellite consultations, resilience, space architecture, space cyber integration, and non-kinetic warfare threats, recommendations for unified defense, space standards, and accelerating India's military satellite deployment, approximately 100 by 2030. So once again, let's put our hands together on the release of the InSpace report. Thank you, gentlemen. And now to formally conclude this remarkable inaugural session, I invite Mr. Anil Prakash, Director General SIA-India, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Namaskar. Very good morning to all of you. I think it is normally the third day is a little dull, but you see the passion of the space sector is growing. It's a vibrant industry and everybody is glued to it. And look at the hall, it's very full. Thank you very much for your ideas. His Excellency, Ambassador of Hungary, thank you very much, sir, for your kind presence. And that shows a phenomenal. It is historical now that both Hungarian and Indian astronauts shoulder to shoulder going into space and doing the research, which will definitely bring a lot of value to the humanity. Let's give a big hand. Thank you, sir. It is India and Hungary cooperation. It is not going forward, reach and bound. Thank you, sir, for your kind presence. Sir, Satheesh sir is just left, and we really thank for him this presence. General Rakesh Kapoor, he's not a new person for us. He's been blessing our earlier Space Congress also, sir, which you have given a job to us, making the next conference is a Global South Conference. Indeed, we'll do so. Thank you very much for guiding us. We'll definitely will work with that direction. Thank you very much, sir. For General Khandare, he's our guider, or he's a mentor, and he's been watching and he's disciplining us and how we are sparking the way forward. Thank you, sir, for your guidance, and we look forward for the future. All 4 conferences, in fact, has been guided and inspired by General Khandare. Thank you very much, sir. Madam, I was really touched when I met Madam Arti Bhatnagar. She was so interesting to look at into the space. He said, wow, I think this is the sector has come, but later, but not just come, but not never. So I think this is the space sector has to need a special emphasis, because that is the indicator of the statistics which Madam has shown. That's a remarkable achievement. The little input by the government brings tremendous output, and the statistics so. Thank you, ma'am, for bringing this out, and it's multifold. It is not only touching the metro city, it is going the remote heartland of this country. That is the success story. Thank you, ma'am, for thinking that the government has really paving way for, and ma'am has already indicated it is not enough. The government is pouring more and more and more. This is the time to private sector to come forward and take the advantage of it. Thank you, ma'am, for the Dr. Bahl, DG CERT-In, who is now our MU partner. Sir, thank you very much for your kind presence. We definitely assure, sir, with the MOU, which is in the letter spirit, we're going to do work on the cyber, making the cyberspace much more, secure. We'll do so, and the number of programs enlisted in the MOU will definitely say. Gokhale, Dr. Gokhale, sir, when we met him, he was looking at it in very broad eyes. And then we simply handed over a small report, Life Science in Microgravity. He just looked at it. I know he's a very patient reader, a quick gainer, that yes, we are doing it. We are working on it. But I have the broad figure, it has really speeded up. I think the presentation made is a laurel that the experiment which is going to take place in microgravity by our astronaut, I think that is the way forward. And then India has got pharmacology industry which is as good as any part of the global. I think this is the best uses which microgravity experience can take it by our pharmacology industry. That is the one which we are looking forward. I think, thank you, sir, for your guidance. We definitely like to work forward to working with you. That is, last but not least, our Honorable President, Dr. Subba Pavuluri. Thank you very much, sir, for guiding us and leading us, and also curating the 3-year conference. So at least every bit and every corner of the aspiration of the industry, aspiration of the government, the meeting grounds. So DPIIT is also now going to be placed in sometime in February. Dates are the next we will be focused. Third day we keep it is a defense day. Nobody knows about it. We secretly enabled it. There are 6 sessions on strategic use requirement for the space. And we have, there are 5 sessions today, 1 session had yesterday. Thank you, General Kapoor. We definitely showed you, sir. This deliberation will definitely, and of course, we'll share you the outcome of the report. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the 3rd day, the last day of the conference. I think everyone will go back and they will definitely think and they work as to that how we can make this world peaceful, secure. So at least our future generation should live peacefully. Thank you very much. Enjoy your deliberation.
Thank you. I would request our dignitaries to kindly come together for a group photograph before we close the inaugural session. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you to each one of you for being here with us. We now invite everyone to join us for networking tea and also a visit to the exposition area in Desire Hall. After the tea break,